Good afternoon and welcome to AQS Guild Buzz with Bonnie. Today we're going to be visiting with the Des Moines Area Quilters Guild in Des Moines, Iowa. And our program today is sponsored by Janome America. My guest today is Karen Wignall. And tell us what you do with the Guild, Karen.
Well, I'm the president of the Guild this year, and that's sort of my role and many other things, but that's the one that got me here.
Let's start out by talking just a little bit about the Guild, when it was founded, how many members that you have.
Sure. It was founded in 1983. There was a local quilt store owner who thought that the women or the people needed to meet, and there were about 60 people in to begin with. And they did a lot of show and tell and asked questions and resolved quilting problems, that kind of thing. And they started to do summer meetings, and our first quilt show was in September of 1983.
Wow, so you've been around a long time, longer than AQS even. We started in 1985. Yes. So with the coronavirus, you know, we're all having to make some adjustments. And so how is your guild meeting and do whatever they're doing during this time?
Well, typically we have a couple meetings a month. We have a newcomers meeting, and we have a bigger guild meeting with a speaker. And obviously we can't do those in person. It just is not working. So things have been canceled and postponed, which is very tough. Our board members have been meeting on Zoom. And one of the things we did is we started a Facebook group that's just for the members. And on there, we've been doing show and tell. We started, one thing that was sort of fun, we started this where we made houses. People have been making houses. And when we get to finally go together, we will share our houses and make it so that we can make a pandemic quilt out of the different people's houses from different members of the guild.
So can the public go in and view what's being posted on there? Is it a totally private group?
It's a private group. They can ask to be. We have a regular Facebook group, which people can see. But we wanted to do one that people felt comfortable in sharing what they were working on. And it's been, so the day of our meeting, where our meeting would typically be held, we do a big show and tell on that day.
Okay, well that keeps everybody in touch then, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're trying to. We have about half of our members on it.
Well, I know that your guild is very active and you do a lot of sewing for your local community in the Midwest or the central Iowa area. Tell us some of the things that your guild does.
Well, we do many things. You want me to talk about typically what we do, right?
Yes, yes. I like the quilts like what you do at the state fair.
Fair. Yep. At the state fair, we make quilts that are like this. There a lot of them are strip quilts. And this one's very special because this is our 4,000th quilt that we make. So we give these to a variety of organizations that need them. A lot of them these are children's quilts. And last year we made over 625 at the state fair. It's called the Sew-In. And we have a place that's close to where the quilts are typically shown. And it's a great big room with sewing machines all over, and we get kids and adults and foreign exchange students and people that have never sewed. We get them in and we get them to sew. We teach them how to work on a machine. Some people do binding, and it's, for a lot of people, it's a must-stop place when they go to the fair. And so it's lots of fun.
Well, I know that the fair is not just a 3 or 4 day fair either. How many days is the Iowa State Fair?
I'm sitting here thinking, I think I told you, I think it's more, I think it's 10 days. I'm all of a sudden going, 7 doesn't sound enough. I think it's 10.
Yeah, I think it does. It covers 2 weekends, I believe.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yes. So that's why I think it's 10. Yes, it takes a tremendous amount of volunteers, and not just it takes a lot of volunteers at the fair, but it also takes volunteers all year long to cut strips, cut binding, cut backs, cut batting, everything you need to be able to make this project go. And we have numerous organizations that either provide fabric, or we've got one group, I gotta say their name so I won't say it wrong. They're called the Binding Sisters, and they cut binding all year long and ready for the fair. And we have people that are not even in our county, but other counties that will work with this, and like the Warren County Peacemakers, they make quilt tops and actually donate them. So we go in with all this preparation to make sure that it can happen. And we have about 14 different organizations that receive the quilts.
Well, now tell me on making and completing the quilts. Do you tie those quilts and then somebody binds them, or are you actually quilting them?
We're quilting them. The strip ones are just quilted straight. So they're, so like if you look at this one, you can see here that it's got lines straight down, it's just a straight quilt. And that's what we do for a lot of them. We make kits like this. So this is a kit that somebody would pick up. And so some of them are made at home beforehand, because we can't make all of those at that time. So this one has got 5-inch strips that are made, and then there's a binding with it, and then the backing. So people will take these at our meetings and then go home and put them together, and that'll be a part of the process too. So it isn't just at the fair, it's all year long.
Well, it also, when you have some that are pre-made, it also then gives you quilts in different stages to finish at the fair, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's a huge project. Now, I know I've been watching your newsletter of how many masks, face masks, that your guild has been making, and thousands.
This is the one that we've been making for, it's called Broadlands Hospital. It's our community hospital. This is called our surgical mask. So these are totally made out of everything that is cotton. And so we've made 6,400 of those. And then we've made a whole bunch of other kinds, some that'll fit different things. This one's called an Olsen mask. It's sort of hard to see, I think, in there, but it's got a little place that you can put a filter into it.
Right.
Then we have a number of places where we've been making kids masks, because we have a number of organizations that need stuff for children. One's called Child Serve, and they work with handicapped children. And then another one's called Creative Visions, which we're very involved with, which deal with a lot of immigrants, and so families need them. So, and then we've been making a lot of the more typical ones for adults as well. So we've made over 7,500 of those, and that need is still there. So we are still making those. The Broadlands ones we finished finally, the 6,400, and but the other ones we're still working on.
Well, I told you that Janome is our sponsor, and we all are putting our sewing machines to work. And we're going to just take a minute and have a word from Janome America.
Be sure to contact your local Janome dealer about the Continental M7 and my complete ruler package today.
So welcome back. We're here at AQS Guild Buzz with Bonnie, and I'm talking to Karen Wignall of Des Moines, Iowa. And Karen, tell us what's been going on with your guild in these times where we can't meet. Are you using the internet and doing some things there?
Yeah, we have about 40 small groups, and we have about close to almost 400 members. And so a lot of the small groups have gotten a little bit creative in what they're doing. One of my small groups, tomorrow we'll have our Zoom meeting, and we'll show what we're doing and talk. I know we've had some parking lot meetings where they will come and bring a chair and go to a parking lot and put chairs up socially distanced apart and work on their hand quilting. We know we've had a couple that have there's I've seen a lot of people taking and putting stuff on doorsteps and being able to share stuff all the time.
Well, and with our quilt shops closed, most of them are closed. I know that people are having some trouble finding fabric.
Well, that's one thing that we have is we have a fabric closet, and it's in, I think you know Sharon Meisenheimer. I think you've met her through AQS and stuff. Well, it's in her basement, and it is huge. And we get donations all the time, which is just amazing, of people, you know, somebody will say, my grandmother passed away and we don't quilt, but we've got all this fabric. Well, this is a huge amount of fabric. So normally we have a big event in the fall or in the August called Mall in the Hall, and then a charity auction. And in 3.5 hours, we make somewhere $20,000 to $30,000 for different charities. And the Mall in the Hall is all stuff that's been donated by people. And it's a huge garage sale for quilters. And so some of the money people can decide. We have charities like American Heart Association, ALS, Alzheimer's, Cancer Society, and then so people can decide where they want to donate to, or they can donate it back to the guild. And that stuff is stuff we use to buy state fair money and other classes that we run. But it's huge, and so that's where we've gotten a lot of the flannel and some of the fabric that we've needed to be able to make the masks. So a lot of people have delved into their stash, but we also have stuff for people to be able to share.
Okay, and so do you have some other things that you brought to show us that your guild does?
Yes, I've got a couple of things. One of the things we do, and I think a lot of people do this, we make pillowcases. And those are great to be able to do that. We tend to also make placemats that will go for a variety of things.
And I know at one point you had made placemats for everybody that was on Meals on Wheels, not only in your county, but in the surrounding counties.
We've done that in the past. They don't have quite as big of a need right now, but they've done a lot. The quilt you see behind me is what's called our raffle quilt. And that is one that we raffle off to support the guild and the show that we typically do in September. For many years, I think 9 years, we were provided volunteers for AQS when they came to Des Moines. Yes. And now this should have been our 3rd year that we've gone back on our own, and it's been very successful. This year we've had to postpone it. So this will be raffled off next year, 2021, instead of 2020. And then we also tend to make a lot of other quilts. So we have the children's quilts, but we will provide a couple hundred quilts for a variety of really neat organizations. Like anybody that's adopted in Polk County will get a quilt. Any child that's adopted. All of our Habitat for Humanities, anybody that gets a new house will get a quilt. We have a special one that a lot of us are very excited about. It's called Sleep in Heavily Peace, and it's an organization where they're making bunk beds for kids that don't have beds. And then we've been making quilt tops for the bunk beds.
So do you have any idea how many the number of quilts that your guild makes in a year's time?
Yeah, last year I think we were over 1,000. You know, when you look at all the different little entities that get the quilts. So and it ranges. This year we've been making masks, and I think now we're going to start to ramp up a little bit and try to make some quilts, because we sort of pulled back on that, and we know we won't have the state fair, but we know there's still a need. Yeah. So they've been putting kits together, like I said, like this, and so I think that we'll continue to meet the need as best we can.
Okay. Well, and so we will be giving away a sewing machine as part of the sponsorship from Janome, and it's going to be a Janome HD9 professional model. This is a $2,300 sewing machine, And you know, I always say you won't win if you don't enter. So at the end of this program, if you will go to quiltweek.com/guildbuzz, you'll find a page where we have the registration to enter the giveaway for the sewing machine. We also are doing some surveys, and right now we're doing a survey asking people if they would go to a show this fall, if they will not, or if they aren't sure if they want to. We're just trying to get a feel of where the quilters are. And of course, anytime somebody wants to do something for our viewing public out there that may not be a member of your guild or a member of AQS, they can always participate in the Quilts of Valor, and I know that your guild gives quilts for that too. Your guild, somebody from Quilts of Valor in Des Moines gave my husband one of those several years ago, and it was one of his prized possessions. And today we have so many beautiful panels that are patriotic that just make up into beautiful Quilts of Valor. And if you want to know more about Quilts of Valor, if you will go to QOVF, that stands for Quilts of Valor Foundation.org. I believe it's .org. And you'll find all the information about how to make the quilts if you just want to make some quilt blocks. Also, if you want to suggest that one be donated or presented, they do a beautiful presentation of the quilts when they present those quilts. But you can find all of that on their website. We also have been working with the American Patchwork and Quilting, which is located there in Des Moines, with their Million Pillowcase Challenge. And we've been collecting them at our shows, and all of those pillowcases are donated in whatever community they are in. And so yours go to a local group there when you make them. And so in conjunction with the information about the pillowcase challenge, there's also a video that we did on how to make one. So if you want to find out an easy way to make a pillowcase, I know that my sister used that pattern, and I think she's made about 50 of them now, and people keep asking her for more pillowcases. But it makes a great gift, and it also makes a great donation. Karen, can you tell us if somebody came to Des Moines and wanted to visit your guild, where would they get information for that?
Well, you can go to dmaqg.org, which is Des Moines Area Quilt Guild, and that's our website. Or if you even just Google and put Des Moines quilts in there, you pretty much will find it as well. And that has of all of our meeting times and locations. It has all of our programs, because we have 8 speakers a year that come, and then the day after they present to the guild, they have classes. And anybody can take the classes. The cost is a little bit less if you're a member than if you aren't. But it will have information about the Mall in the Hall and the auction and our quilt show. And then it also has member information for newcomers as well.
Great, yes. And I know that you do a program for newcomers too, to get them indoctrinated in what goes on in the Quilt Guild. As vice president, you run it, and I did it last year. And so I have members of the guild that come teach things. And I had many regular Quilt Guild members say, "Can I come?" Because they loved it, because there was a lot of really good, good topics. And it just, because we are so big, if you come to that meeting, our daytime meetings run 150 to 200 people. It's hard to know people, but the newcomers then will have a face. Our evening meetings run 50 to 100. And so it allows them to have faces and have connections so that they feel comfortable at the meetings. I want to tell you about the quilt that's hanging behind me here today. And after 9/11, AQS invited quilters to send quilt tops or finished quilts, and AQS auctioned them on eBay. And this is one that I purchased at that auction, and it was made by Nancy Rector, and she called it Honor. So a lot of the quilts were red, white, and blue, and quilters, we got several hundreds of quilts that we were able to auction off, and that money was donated to the Police and Firemen's Fund, and some of it went to the group that trains the dogs that goes in and helps them find people. And so, quilters always are right on the ball to get in there and help do something, aren't they?
We're making a quilt for Broadlawns that we did the project for all the things, and it's a signature quilt. And so people are making blocks, and we have over 150 members and non-members that had made the surgical mass. And so their names will all be on there, and it'll be presented to Broadlawns to put at a place to commemorate this time, this unusual time.
It's, and you know, I think we all are making different things. Well, I have on a mask, and I've made myself a whole wardrobe of masks here, so I can just show those to you. But I want to tell you how I made this one, because it's a little bit different. It's made out of 3 8x10 pieces of fabric. 2 of them are folded on the back so that I can have a place where you can put a filter in. And then, of course, the front of it is another piece of fabric. And you'll notice that I've done something different with my strings, and that is I put a cord lock on it. So when you get ready to tie it and make it fit your head, all you gotta do is pull on those strings and tighten it up. But I made these out of a layer cake. And because each of these pieces are cut 10 by 10, that's what a layer cake is, to make this mask, all you have to do is cut 2 inches off of the mask. And now my piece is 1 cut, and I'm all ready to start to sew them together. We hope that you will stay safe out there. Wear your mask. Oh, I want to tell you one more thing, and that is I bought 22 gauge stainless steel wire at the Ace Hardware store. And so there's a piece of that in here so that when this gets placed over your nose, if you're like me and wear glasses, sometimes it fogs up your glasses on the inside. And so if you put a piece of wire in there like that, and stainless steel won't rust, so it can be washed all you need to wash it. So with that, I want to thank you, Karen, for joining us today. We want to thank Janome America for sponsoring our program. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next week at 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. Bye, Karen.
Bye-bye.